Bitcoin to $250,000 potentially by the end of the year. Maybe sometime into 2026 if we see some kind of relative rhyming with the predictions around global M2 supply. But the key point here is effing higher. Screw the bears. Okay, it doesn't mean we're not going to have corrections. There'll be big, nasty, fat, gross corrections that'll terrify you into thinking that it's over right before it bounces back again. The road to 250K will be paved with many a casualty, many a liquidated player. You got to stay in the game, got to stay focused. Bitcoin, the time is now. This has never been really a better time to be paying attention to Bitcoin. All the things we've been saying for years are going to happen are starting to happen. Now is not the time to give in to those gross, stinky doomer bears, okay? I've been talking about 250K BTC for a while now. You've probably heard me mention it dozens of times, but I like this prediction here from Ham Lee, who's hardcore Bitcoin bull as well. He specifically was saying about the stock markets, but really that feeds into what's going to happen to the risk on attitudes, and he gives a 250K BTC price prediction for Bitcoin as well. But here's what he has to say about stocks. He says, following reasons why markets are fine and we're going to go way effing higher. The first is about high yield bond markets. Now, high yield bond markets tend to be this sort of critical indicator by the market when things are about to break, when things are going really, really bad. And the regular government bond markets have been showing some various signs of distress, and they've been pulling the levers in the background to make sure things don't break. But the high yield bond market never signaled panic. There was no distress. Oh, there was distress in the stock market? Sure. Bond markets, high yield bond markets, they were fine. That is not usually what happens when a major crisis is going to form up, right? The second, this is very, very interesting. Historical data supports a V-shaped recovery. And here's why. Because 17 of the last 18 declines since 1950 were followed by the same. The odds are heavily in your favor. And look, we've talked about all the other stuff too, the Zweig breadth thrust and stuff like that, and all the different statistics showing that usually after a big crash like that, markets recover quite strongly. Currently what we're seeing. Again, doesn't mean it's going to be a straight road to all-time highs and that there won't be some turbulence on the way. There always is. Third point, U.S. business resilience. Now here's a very interesting part. Of course, now all the tariff stuff's kind of chilling out a little bit. We're seeing ISM, it went slightly under where you want it to be, under the 50 line, but generally it's been pretty okay. It did actually bounce back up, so it's going back in the right direction last month. We are essentially right now, and shout out to Raul for that chart there, but we are essentially right now at the bottom of the business cycle. And you see all these people saying, this is the worst since the blah, 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 global Great Depression, whatever kind of stuff for housing market and mortgages and credits and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, since the literal bottom of that crisis, not the top, the bottom, which means we're a lot closer to the bottom on all that nasty, scary stuff or we've already bottomed on some of that nasty, scary stuff. And the business cycle currently is at the bottom. Markets don't top when the business cycle's at the bottom. Markets top when the business cycle's at the top. And we're not at the top of the business cycle, okay? Which means that everything's going way effing higher, all right? But anyway, Tom Lee says, yes, stocks are gonna go higher, and because stocks are gonna go higher and make new all-time highs, risk-on attitudes are here. Bitcoin's going to 250K. By the way, guys, for trading these markets, BitUnix is the hot spot to be. Okay, it's where I'm doing most of my trading these days. No KYC, no VPN, no BS. What's that mean? It means anybody, anywhere can use BitUnix. All you have to do, click on the link right here down below. Boom, easy. You can start trading. Have a good time. Deposit some USDT. Long and short, all the coins. They got the big stuff. Want your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Solana, your XRP, they got it. You want some dog coins? They got the dog of hat. They got the fart coin. They got the penguin coin. They got what you want to trade, guys. And special deals right now. You get $10 for signing up, $400 in deposit bonus. So you deposit $1,000, you get $200 back. You deposit $2,000, you get $400 back, and up to $2,000 in trading bonuses, which is crazy. Limited time offer, link down below. Go check it out. Start trading the way that you want to. Now, for more bullish propaganda here, you know we love bullish propaganda around here. For more bullish propaganda, let's share some fantastic charts. This is the power law chart. Now, without getting into the nerdy aspects of it, basically it's showing 150K baseline by end of 2025, 250K baseline, that's the green line here, by 2028. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. The baseline tends to get overshot during the final period of a bull market, so you're gonna end up somewhere between that 150, 250K as like the bottom zone here, like our least expectations by the end of 2026, let's say, and then something above that. So maybe if we have 150K baseline by the end of 2025, maybe we get to 250 by the end of the year, like Tom Leith and I have thought for a while. Maybe it gets pushed out the next year and we get even crazier, we're up to 300K by the end of the year. Okay? $1 million top line on that, by the way, which I don't see happening. But hey, Arthur Hayes out here saying $1 million by 2028. Screw it. That's the kind of bullish propaganda we need more of, okay? The Bitcoin pie chart, now very accurately called the last few cycle tops, currently around $160,000. But as the price increases, those trend lines start to trend up, and therefore we will see that price target go up. But if Bitcoin just shot to the moon tomorrow and went to like 160K tomorrow, that would probably be the top for the pie chart and potentially for the cycle, or at least local top here for Bitcoin. Now, realistically, it's going to have a slow grind up. It's not going to go straight up. Doesn't work like that. So maybe that again, by the time we get to a pie cycle top flashing signal, that gets us 250K BTC. Because again, it'll keep grinding up and to the right. The rainbow chart, it's basically a logarithmic chart with some fancy colors put on top of it. Anyway, that's saying anywhere between 200 and 400 by the end of the year, depending on how crazy markets get. And what would be crazy enough to make that happen? What if the USA really starts buying a bunch of Bitcoin? Howard Lutnick, who's a wild Bitcoin bull, is literally in charge of finding ways to try to get Bitcoin to the US coffers. I'm sure they're going to figure it out at some point. So that's something to keep an eye out for. The next one here is a chart from CryptoCon, basically a nice enhanced version of the golden ratio multiplier. Now, you can see that throughout the cycles, we've hit different levels on the golden ratio multiplier, level 10 for the first cycle, all the way down to level 6 at the last cycle's peak. 1/6, so therefore that would say, okay, diminishing returns, we can only get up to level 5 this time, which is about $160,000 Bitcoin. Plausible. That could discount all the strategic reserve buying and company buying and all that kind of crazy stuff. And the thing with any of these models is that we have a very small data set to work with on these models, and every model gets broken at some point. That being said, okay, you know what, 160K, fine, it's fine. I'll take $160,000 Bitcoin if I have to. Say la vie. However, what's interesting is that if you go back up to level 6 comes in at $250,000 Bitcoin, 250K BTC. There it is again. Just have to smudge numbers a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how the golden ratio multiplier plays out. It's always interesting at the end of the cycle, look back and see how things actually happen. I know we're not at the end of the damn cycle yet. Okay, get those bear vibes out of your brain, guys. Come on. Next is the Fibonacci line. So if you take the Fibonacci, draw it from 69K down to 15K, so previous cycle peak down to the cycle bottom, and you extend it up. You get the 1.618 line around $100,000 approximately, which is where we topped out for our first local top. Second local top then would come in around 150, 160K BTC, which is a lot of support for a local top in that area, potentially this summer, for example. That I can see July being 160K. Then cycle peak, the 3.618 Fibonacci line, which is almost exactly where we got to last cycle with Bitcoin, by the way, 250K. Well, it's actually around 215, 210, but let's say we overshoot it by a tiny bit, 250K. I guess I'll take $210,000. It's fine, I guess, if I have to. Anyway, and obviously the most important thing of everything ever, it's an interesting model anyway, the global M2, which of course has been pumping. A lot of analysts, like the guys over at Real Vision, they're predicting that the global M2 is going to pump well into 2026 based on their analysis and what they're seeing. So if it pumps well into 2026, that means the 4-year cycle to some extent is broken. We're not getting our top in October, November, December this year. We're actually going to pump well into next year, way beyond everyone's expectations. Things are more bullish than people actually realize. Global M2 is going to keep so much liquidity sloshing around in the system that we're not going to top until, like, I don't know, April, June next year or something like that at 250K BTC. By the way, current indication of the global M2 probably give us 150, 160K BTC in July or August, local top. Let's see how it goes. There's your bullish propaganda. Thanks for watching.